This video is packed with insanely easy thrift flips with drastic transformations. If you enjoy the content, please give your stamp of approval by clicking the like button, share it with a friend, and leave a kind word in the comments. I'm starting off with this hanging taper candle holder. I thought it was beautiful in its original color and stain, but wanted to bring it home, clean it up, brighten it up, and make it more my style. Here I removed the part at the bottom that holds the taper candle, and using 120 grit sandpaper, very fine sandpaper, I'm going to lightly scuff up the surface. This will allow it to take paint more evenly. I am back now to add transfers to this piece after painting it in white chalk paint and sealing it with clear wax. Using any kind of sealer over a painted surface before applying your rub-on transfers is going to make the process super easy. And it protects the surface for many years to come. This particular pack of transfers came from Amazon, and I believe I toss in a few transfers from others in my stash, but primarily I'm using this pack. There's really no rhyme or reason to how you apply your transfers. Just do whatever makes you happy. I'm not going to make you watch the entire process. I'm going to skip ahead here and show you the end result. As you can see, I didn't leave out the taper candle cup. I put a little flower on there, some words that were in the pack of transfers, and I painted around the edge there of the cup in a light baby blue to match that little daisy on there. Oh my gosh, I love daisies. Have I told you all that? They are probably in the top 3 of my favorite flowers. Let me know if you would like me to create a video that is themed around daisies, because I could totally do it. All that's left to do is to seal it with a clear top coat. I'm using Dead Flat by Rust-Oleum. And here is the final reveal of this beautiful candlestick. I am choosing, instead of putting a taper candle in here, just a tiny succulent. I may put a candle in here at some point. I just don't have any on hand, or I may just leave this succulent in there. I think it's cute either way. Let me know in the comments what you think about this transformation. I found this set of chubby little sparrows at Goodwill and picked them up. I think I've had them in my stash 3 or 4 months. It was cold outside, we'll just say that. So I've been waiting patiently for the season to be appropriate for this flip. And if you think the first one was easy, this one is even easier. I'm going to take my Admiral Blue acrylic paint and coat these birds in it twice. And when that's dry, I'll apply gold leaf to the tail, the beak, and the little eyes. And I'm using the official gold leaf adhesive. I have seen other crafters use different glues like Mod Podge or even Elmer's glue, and I can say from experience that they do not behave the same. Some things are not meant to be hacked, and this is one of those things. If you use the appropriate glue, this gold leaf process will be easier than you might think. So I encourage you, if you haven't tried it before, buy the right products, and it will be so easy and the outcome will be beautiful. I find it easier to cut the gold leaf sheets down into smaller squares when I'm working with small areas like this. Here I'm just touching up the blue paint in areas where I see it might need a little extra. And around the eyes, I had a little bit of the extra gold leaf kind of overlapping the blue. And I'm using my brush just to clean up the area so it doesn't lose the shape of an eye. Once everything is dry, you guessed it, I'm taking it outside and giving it a clear coat of my Rust-Oleum Dead Flat spray paint. Here is the final reveal of our birds. I think it looks much better. I think they are so elegant and cute and can really be left out year-round. Let me know in the comments what you think about this transformation. I found this vintage piece at Goodwill a few weeks ago and thought that it could be used as a magazine and toilet paper holder in the bathroom or a cookbook and paper towel holder in the kitchen. So I love anything that's functional. I brought it home to give it some life. I started off by spraying it with Rust-Oleum paint and primer in one, and it gave it a beautiful finish. I followed this up with one coat of chalk paint in the color Dusk. I went to bed right after this and couldn't sleep, so I got up and thought I'd make use of the time, and in my pajamas began working again on this project. Off camera, I had prepared these flowers by just using air-dried clay in a silicone mold and set them aside so that I can get them all on at the same time. I'm using wood glue here to attach them to the project and just placing them exactly the same on either side. This is one of 2 thrift flips in this video where we will be using air-dried clay. The final project in this video is the most intricate of them all, and I hope that you can stick around to see the unique way that the clay will be placed on that one. The outcome is so cute. I'm using that same chalk paint in the color Dusk to start painting over the flowers. This clay is still wet. You might be able to see the color variation. You can see in the areas where it's a little bit more white than others that is where the clay is beginning to dry. And this is the perfect time to apply paint. The paint can, if you paint it when the clay is still very wet, it can really extend the dry time. But if you wait until you have just a little bit of white edges on your clay, that's the perfect time to paint. Think about it like pancakes. When you start to see the edges bubble, you're flipping that bad boy. And so with air-dried clay, when those edges start to turn white, it's time to paint. I gave the blue chalk paint about 15 minutes to dry, and now I'm dry brushing some white acrylic paint over the surface of the flowers, going against the grain. I'm not applying any pressure here. I'm just lightly grazing the brush over the clay so that I can accentuate the detail in the design. I was digging in my junk bin in the craft room and found this little block of wood that had the word blessed on the back. I'm sorry that it's out of frame and you can't see it, but on the opposite side at an earlier point in time, I had painted it white with chalk paint and added some transfers to it, and then didn't really have a use, so I tossed it aside. I'm going to use it on the front of this piece to give it a little interest. As you can see, I kept the bar for the paper towel or the toilet paper white to correspond with that. Here is what it looks like complete. Let me know in the comments what you think about this transformation. I was so excited to find this beautiful vintage Burwood wall hanging at Goodwill. I believe I paid $2.99 for it. This model dates back to 1970. And I'm not going to do a lot to this piece because it's already beautiful. I just want to add a splash of color, hang it on the wall, and make a unique art piece for my living room. I looked these up online and found a set of 2 on eBay for about $15. So if you like this look, you can find them there. You might be able to find them on Etsy as well. I gave this piece a good cleaning, let it dry, and now I'm going in to dry brush some purple color. The actual color of it is called Wild Orchid by Deco Art, and this is a beautiful shade of purple. As you see me apply it here, please don't cringe or leave because you're thinking, why is she painting this beautiful piece purple? You're barely going to see any of the purple when I'm done, so just hang in there with me and enjoy the process. The walls in my living room are a light shade of blue, and I thought by introducing a purple piece or a piece with purple hues, I could add a little lightness to the space with a beautiful new pop of color. Once I'm done adding the wild orchid shade, I go in with a light blue shade. This is called Robin's Egg Blue, and it's by Craftsmart. And I'm going to again just dry brush over, covering some of that purple, and you'll see these two shades come together beautifully. When this piece is done, it will look majestic and high-end. So hang in there with me. We have just one more thing to do. If you've been with me, you know that I have a special relationship with my gold gilding polish. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to now just dry brush on using the same technique, just lightly brushing over the scrolls and detail on this piece. If you find a piece like this at the thrift store, or at a roadside antique show, which I think you'd more likely be able to find it if you wanted to buy it in person, go ahead and pick it up. And when you get home, experiment with different colors or styles with it. And by doing that, you could very well add an element of surprise and character to the entire space. I can't believe that we are halfway through the video and I haven't spilled anything. I haven't stepped on anything and pierced my skin. I haven't done anything hazardous making these projects, so that in itself makes me happy. But I want to say thank you so much for sticking with me on this video. Every single time I see that somebody has finished a video, it just makes my heart smile. So welcome in. If you haven't already and you like this content, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, share it with your friends, and the whole nine. I still feel a little funny asking for support and things along those lines because I've never been somebody who asked for help. But in seeing how other creators are doing better than myself because they actually ask for subscriptions and whatnot, it's hard to deny that it works. So thanks for putting up with me. Enough with all of that sappy stuff. It's time to show you the final reveal of this wall hanging. I hope that you love this as much as I do, and I hope that you are inspired now to try something new in your home. Let me know in the comments what you think about this transformation. This is a simple candlestick that we are going to refinish and repurpose. I start off with a coat of white chalk paint off camera, let that dry, and dry brushing on another coat of chalk paint, but this time in the color celery. This is sort of a reverse dry brush because normally we would put the darker shade down and dry brush a lighter shade, whereas with this one I wanted the base color to be white and dry brush on the darker shade. And I love the way this technique looks when it's dry. I'm using my watercolor pen to pull away some of the bird images that are on this sheet of rice paper and Mod Podge them in no specific order onto the candlestick. And I'll do this all the way around it. I think it's so important to complete projects, to do a 360-degree look at things and make sure that no matter what angle somebody views the project at, that it's going to look finished and professional. You may have heard me say in other videos that I'm not a fan of Mod Podging over the image that I just decoupaged onto the surface. And that's just because I try to avoid wrinkles at all costs. But the exception would be when these little pieces of decoupage are small and there's really no room to wrinkle. I would be using a top clear coat sealer if these pieces were much larger. Here I'm adding a few strands of braided jute rope that I picked up on Amazon simply because I felt it needed something more. Using a small foam ball that comes in a pack of 6 at the Dollar Tree, I'm going to cut it in half and squish it down into the candle cup. I'm pulling some leaves from a plant that I put together last summer, and I'm going to put those into that little foam ball and make it look like a topiary. So I keep working with it until what I have is lush and full. Here is what it looks like when it's complete, and I think it is so cute. And I know that I say that about every project, but trust me when I tell you that if it weren't cute, it wouldn't make it in the video. I've definitely made things that I thought were not worthy of bringing to you, but this is another one that made the cut. Let me know in the comments what you think about this transformation. This little ladder photo frame was in the vintage section at Goodwill. I'm not sure how vintage it is. Maybe you can tell me, but it doesn't look like it's as old as some of the other pieces that we flipped today. Instead of sanding this piece, I decided to spray it with my Rust-Oleum primer. And when that was dry, I gave it a coat of white chalk paint and clear wax to seal it. Once again, I prepared my clay ahead of time using molds that I picked up from Amazon. I like to store them as I'm working inside of a plastic bag where I cut the bottom and the side, and this just allows me to kind of open and close it like a book so that I can easily access the clay, but it doesn't dry out while I'm working. Using wood glue super glue from the Dollar Tree, I'm going to start to place the butterflies and the other details to make it look like there is just a flutter of butterflies swarming this piece. I actually end up changing out this scroll that I put on the top later because I didn't like the way it was laying and positioned, so you'll see me do that a little bit later. You'll notice as I'm placing the butterflies, I'm checking to see where I have an opportunity to fold the wings and make it look like the butterfly is getting ready to land. I have one already placed there. It's the third one down from the top. And I have just a small piece of clay that I rolled and put under that wing. I'm not sure if I show it here, but I put it under the wing just to prop it open while it's drying. To give it a little more charm and detail, I'm using these half circle clay shapes. I did set this aside for about a day to dry. I don't want to paint the clay at this point in time because it's just too intricate and there are too many things that I could knock off or out of place in the process. So I'm letting this dry. You can probably get away with less than 24 hours. You just want to make sure that when you go back into paint something like this, that the clay is dry enough to where you cannot bump it off while you're working. So coming back the next day, I'm going to cover the entire piece in this golden oak acrylic paint. Once that's dry, I lightly dry brush on some white acrylic paint to pull out the details in these butterflies. I could have put family photos or anything really inside this frame, but I wanted to make it springy. So I have these little pieces of paper. I don't actually have one large sheet of scrapbook paper that I liked for this project, so I have these 3 that came in the same pack from Temu. It's actually a big, beautiful variety pack of these papers, and I carefully chose the ones that I thought I could put together and make it look like there's just a bunch of flowers coming out of this watering can. So I'm just spending a few minutes cutting and piecing these together to try my best to make it look like it's one sheet of paper. Here it is complete, and I wonder if you think this looks like a swarm of butterflies landing on a big, beautiful bouquet of flowers in a watering can. Let me know in the comments what you think about this transformation. My friend, we have made it to the end of this video. Here's a look back at what we flipped today. Before you head out, give the video a like and check in the description box for more information on how you can make suggestions for upcoming videos and support the channel. Until next time, my friend, don't forget to craft what you love.